Hey crypto friends, checking in because we have some clear breaks and they are favoring the bears for the most part. So Bitcoin is down, testing its recent lows of the dump. So the way it played out, we have the high, the rejection from the weekly resistance, the low of the dump, a lower high was set at 39.10, and now we're looking down and testing the support again. We had clear declining volume as the range tightened up. We had a daily inside bar that broke bearish. The bear signal for that was 37.63. And again, here we are right down at the low on increased bear volume. So we're continuing to tighten up on the weekly time frame. Anything above 33.37 will be a weekly higher low, keeping us in this tightening range. And it's all about that time frame. So patiently waiting for clarity on the longer term time frames. But in the short term, the bears have control. So we play the zoom out game, the hourly exponential resistance, rejecting the price, not surprising. That's the target on the bounce. If we get over that, we zoom out to the 4 hour and we'll look for just a 4 hour exponential resistance test. It's a potential little 4 hour bear flag at this point. Bottom line is bears are in complete control and we have exponential resistances to be watching. ETH is weaker than Bitcoin. We've already broken down below 125.70. So that is dropping to lower lows at this point. Every single day for the last bunch of days, last 9 days is a lower high. So we had such a clear 4 hour downtrend. This exponential resistance is a brick wall and a great guide to keep those bears in complete control. 137.53, another lower high of 134.41. Anything under that level will just be another lower high. We'll continue to watch the exponential resistances, playing the zoom out game, and the weekly time frame for ETH in order to stay in the equilibrium has to hold $100. And we're 25% above that level. So that's going to be in play and a key level to hold in the near future. So over the last video that we made over the weekend, we had the Goldilocks scenario where we had LTC, the clear lead bull, BTC clearly in the middle, and ETH, the clear lead bear out of the big three here. So Litecoin still holding on much stronger. This was the ideal scenario in terms of everybody looking for a daily lower high to form, but in the end, only Litecoin made it up to fill some of that space. So the high of the bull move, the low of the pullback, lower high was 49.11, and now we're looking for a higher low compared to the low of 42.40. So tightening range on the daily time frame. Like I said, Ethereum already broke to a lower low. Bitcoin is right at that support, and we currently have about 6-7% to work with before we break that support level with where Litecoin stands. So everybody a different strength with the setup, bull versus bear. XRP continues to tighten up. Technically, we made a bear break by 1/10 of a penny, but we're going to call that a double bottom. So we have the high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high, and double bottom. So the bears absolutely have momentum in their favor, and we have to change this 4 hour trend with a higher low and a bull break over 312 in order to defend this daily support. Otherwise, it will be a clear bear break of this tightening range, and we'll be looking back down at 299, the low of the dump to that point. So overall, the bears are much more comfortable with where we stand. We have to see this 4 hour trend change to give the bulls some space to work with off of this double bottom and to try and make their way back to the middle of the range around the 32-cent mark. BNB continues to be a lead bull, very healthy daily consolidation, lower wick of bulls buying the dip. We lost the hourly uptrend, which told us that daily consolidation was coming. And let's actually look at the 4 hour uptrend. So here's the 4 hour uptrend being lost with a lower high and lower low, but not much follow through for the bears. Again, extremely healthy. And we know that anything on the daily above 926 is a higher low. So the bulls are very comfortably looking for that higher low to form. And at this point, it's a potential bull flag on the daily time frame right now. So we could see continuation from here. Again, lead bull in the entire cryptocurrency space. A lot of people like to say, well, you can't short it and margin and blah, 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 almost as if it doesn't count. None of that matters. If the price is going up, there's money to be made. And it's absolutely a huge benefit that it cannot be shorted. EOS USD. So in the video over the weekend, we highlighted NEO and EOS for the clear tightening patterns on the daily time frame where a break was imminent. We highlighted the declining volume every single day as that range tightened up. And then the volume break associated with the break in price range tells you if there's follow through and if it's a real break and not a fake out. And we obviously saw it for the bears The clear bear break was 348 and we dropped down to 315. So a very easy 8% drop for the bears just acting on support. Let's look at it on the 4-hour time frame. Should say acting on support breaking, and as soon as 348 broke, the bear volume started to pour in, and we broke every other support level that was established previously. So on this bounce attempt, just like everything else, we're watching the 4-hour exponential resistance. We're looking for a 4-hour lower high to be set. Have to see a higher low and a higher high to change any kind of momentum, and the bears are in control. The weekly time frame is looking for a weekly higher low compared to 218. So the bulls have a lot of space to work with. NEO had a clear bear break as well. For here, 855 was the bear break. We dropped down under 790. So a very clear 6-7% bear break with the increase in bear volume. Same pattern of volume completely dropping off as things got very tight. The volume spiked on that bear attack. We're watching the exponential resistance and the weekly time frame on NEO. We are looking at a higher low having to form compared to 666. TRX USD, bear dump, but a very significant bounce. So we're continuing to watch the weekly time frame and knowing that a weekly higher low is very likely to form, but there's no indication that that weekly higher low has formed just yet. But whenever we see a daily bear break here, we're not seeing a ton of follow through, which is a decent sign for the bulls, which keeps us watching, knowing that a weekly higher low will form eventually. So we have to see a trend change on the daily chart. The daily exponential resistance has rejected the previous bounce attempt. The hourly time frame here, very significant follow through on the bounce. The 4-hour chart breaking lower highs, but we have to confirm the trend change on the 4-hour with the higher low and then higher high bull break. Look at the exponential resistance rejecting the price for the last pretty much 7 days, and the potential to get over that level and turn it into support if we can get that higher low and higher high confirmation. And this is one of those patterns that's an inverse head and shoulders potential setup. Left shoulder, this would be the head, and then we'll look for the higher low to try and form a right shoulder, and our neckline is pretty much a double top at 23 cents here. So watching for the higher low and the right shoulder of this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and next time we check in, if we make this bull break over 23, we'll zoom out to the daily, and we'll look for a daily lower high to form compared to 2.7 because that's our last daily lower high, and there's a lot of space for the bulls to work with if they can shift that 4-hour momentum. A lot of work until we can prove that the weekly higher low has been established, but worth keeping an eye out for it. RVN USDT, huge bull pump. And this is just a clear downtrend and a leveling out and then a big turnaround in momentum, breaking key resistances. And looking at it from a weekly time frame, the clear weekly bull break was 14.6. It was even late on the daily time frame, but huge follow through. And at this point, the top is in. The volume climax being set, the indecision candlestick favoring the bears in the short term for consolidation, and the 4-hour time frame giving us volatility. Let's actually look at it on the hourly. Don't like it on the hourly. So we've got our high of the bull move, our low of the pullback, and now it looks like our lower high is being set at 259. So we're going to look for a higher low compared to 19 cents. And for this 4-hour equilibrium to tighten up, if the 4-hour equilibrium breaks bearish, we zoom out to the daily and we look for a daily higher low to form. And if it breaks bullish, I wouldn't expect a whole lot of follow through, but we'll be looking back up into the upper 20s. This is the kind of move that keeps people interested in cryptocurrency, where in 1 week's time, we went from 12 up to 28. So that is essentially 130% in a week. So as long as those gains still keep happening in little glimmers and glimpses, it's nice when it's in the entire cryptocurrency market happening at the same time, where you can close your eyes and click buttons and make money. But there are still opportunities in some of these other little coins. Keeping in mind that, Litecoin's not really a little coin, and it on the weekly time frame just saw a very significant 150, 180% move over the last couple months as well. So weekly time frame continues to have the majority of my attention. I am not going to be trading this space until those weekly time frames give us more clarity, but going to continue checking in every day and making sure that I have my game plan ready for if and when we do see significant shifts in momentum. A lot of Elliott wave traders are waiting for another leg down, which tells me that if we do see a weekly bull break and higher highs, that there's going to be a lot of people sitting on the sidelines and missing out on that move. and perhaps feeling some FOMO to push the prices higher. But again, I just want to clearly state that when we hit a bottom, and it is the bottom, and we're going to see, 100, 200, 300% moves plus off of those bottoms, there are going to be a ton of analysts and a ton of people that are constantly saying, this isn't the bottom, we're about to go lower, and they're going to miss the move. And I am not going to be one of those people. I'm going to put myself in a position to potentially nail that shift in momentum, but obviously protect. I'm not just going to blindly buy and hold at that point. I'm going to continue to use key levels of support, but just be aware that, all these people, there's going to be a lot of people that are missing the move. So we'll wrap it up there. I hope you all do good things out there. Continue to have a good time in life, I hope. And we'll keep an eye on everything. See you soon. Picking up on chapter 2 of the road trip adventure, last we left off was just starting off in Smoky Mountain National Park, North Carolina. Camped there for a few days, ended up going westward through Kentucky on my way towards Colorado out west, and encountered this nice box turtle guy, and he had some really cool patterns on his back. But what I loved about being able to travel on my own in terms of, choosing the days that I travel is picking when I go to places on weekdays, because there's way less people out there on weekdays. And in Kentucky here, this was the first time I really got to be by myself, because the national park in North Carolina still had a lot of people there. So after about a week on the road, this was my first time being completely alone. And the best part about traveling and road tripping is your agenda is literally, I want to see cool things and I want to get from point A to point B. So the only things you need to worry about are obviously for your safety, but what am I going to eat today? What do I have to carry with me? Where am I going to nap? And make sure you have your tent set up before dark. That's pretty much it. So you have tons of time to just explore and, oh, that looks cool over there. I'm going to go, check that spot out, or I'm going to climb those rocks, or it's just complete freedom, which is really empowering. But got to this spot and again, nobody else around. So just got naked. And the first time I could rinse off dirt and sweat from a week on the road. And what I love the most about road tripping and why I think everybody should, practice or do it in some degree is how much we take things for granted as human beings. And I do it as well. Everybody does it. But the kind of things where a shower, if you're showering every day or every other day, it's just this routine. It's this habit and you got to do it. If you're showering once a week or once every 2 weeks, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. And it's so enjoyable. And it just would blow my mind as I was sitting there that you turn a knob and hot water comes out of the wall. And thinking about 99.9% of every human that's ever lived did not have that capability. And the ones that did were reserved for royalty. And here we are, and any average Joe can have 2 places in their house where they turn something, or more than that if you include sinks. You turn a knob and hot water on demand. It's astounding. And even just things such as, a hot meal, or there's so many things where you're road tripping and you're roughing it and you're sleeping in a bed becomes the greatest thing ever. And it just makes you so much more appreciative of those things when you do have them after not having them for a while. So ended up hanging out here, swimming in the creek, found a nice rock to nap on. And when I woke up, there were a bunch of buzzards circling above me and they thought I was a naked dead guy. Fortunately, that was not the case. So a bunch of lush nature in Kentucky as well. And these spots reminded me, I actually didn't put these up, I came across them, but they reminded me of Andy Goldsworthy. And if you're not familiar with Andy Goldsworthy, he's a really, really cool natural artist. He goes out in nature and he does these things. This is his documentary, Leaning into the Wind, but his rock structures, and he makes things out of twigs and leaves and icicles, and the way he manipulates the natural environment, knowing that it's only temporary, the vast majority of his art pieces, is just really cool. Look up Andy Goldsworthy and check out some of the stuff that he does. So that reminded me of a lot of his work in terms of stone stacking. Found a cool feather, was hanging out with Ringo on the trip, keeping me company. That was a spot where I camped got under that overhang, and any rainstorms that came through, I was completely protected and able to have a fire under there. And there were some cool waterfalls nearby as well. And I actually ended up getting a little bit lost in terms of not being able to find my destination of where I was going to camp here. But again, it's the kind of thing where there's nobody around and you just pick a clear spot and to say, well, I'm going to sleep here tonight, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings. And what really was another big adjustment was time. So when you're in a routine and you go to work, or you have your routine in daily life, time flies by because it's the same monotonous stuff that you do consistently. And I'm in that space right now, and that's been some of the biggest shifts in my life in the last 5 years, going from every single day being something completely new and foreign and things you're not expecting to see. I know I'm going to Mammoth Cave National Park, but I have no idea what it looks like. I've never been there. And it's just all new and exciting and fresh. And time slows down so much, where every single day is so distinctly different than the day before it and the day after it, as opposed to when you're in a routine like I am right now, doing the chart guys stuff and doing stocks. I wake up, I have my routine, and that makes the days kind of blend together a little bit. So if you are trying to make things slow down and stop and smell the roses, the more new experiences and the more new stimuli that you can give your senses, the more that's going to happen. And time is very subjective, in my opinion. They've done studies where you take old people and young people, and they say, all right, time a minute in your head. And consistently, for older people, they are early. And so that means time, the perception of time means it goes by faster. And the younger people are consistently later, meaning time is perceived slower. So I don't really understand what time is, but I do know that you can manipulate it in certain ways in terms of how it affects your life. So we'll head on to chapter 3, and that's going to continue heading westward through Kentucky to Mammoth Cave National Park, another cool spot. And we'll check in then. I hope you all continue to do good things out there. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.